Hey, thanks so much for coming out to the Network Operations Center report. My name is Jessica. I'm with Cisco. And we've got Jonathan with Arista, Jason with Palo, and Mark with Corelight. And we're going to talk about the Network Operations Center that we've been doing as Black Hat's been putting on Network Operations Center for over 2 decades. I've personally been doing it for 10 years. Here comes Jimmy, right on time. Are you going to step in? All right, we're going to do a Palo swap. I just want to take a moment to, come here guys, come here, hold up, come here. Cisco can get a Palo sandwich. Because in the Network Operations Center, we leave our logos of where we're at the door when we come to work and collaborate together for our customer, which is Black Hat. So we're going to start off with Arista because they provide all the networking, the hardware. Go ahead.
Can you guys?
It's all yours.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, we do all of the wired and wireless infrastructure for Black Hat. So as you've probably seen throughout, the conference, there's stands with our APs on it, and then of course we always do the switching as well. And so the way that works is in the Asia show and the London show, we actually ride the infrastructure of the venue. So our APs are plugged into the venue infrastructure, and then it all ties back to all of our gear that's back behind the NOC. When we get on site, nothing's configured. We bring everything up. All zero touches to one of our to Cloud Vision or CVQ, which is the wireless infrastructure. They all zero touch back to that, pull the configuration down, and then we're off for configuration. We also feed a tap, so you can kind of see that line going down. So we tap all of the traffic that's going to the Palos, and we take that, we aggregate that data, and then send that over to the Corelight tools. For this show, we have I think we have 48 APs, and we have about, I think 11 switches, if I remember correctly, that are deployed throughout the venue. But that's it for Arista.
Thanks, Jonathan. This is smooth, isn't it?
I was up late last night.
Nice. Hi, my name's Jimmy. I work for Palo Alto Networks, and yes, we have 2 parts to the story of what we bring with our platform to the event. As it says right there, network security and security operations provider. So let me break that down for you. As you can see, the next line, Cortex XIM security operations platform. Mark's going to talk in a little bit about how Corelight do all their great work with looking at the entire, every single packet going through the network, basically, and doing a load of really interesting threat hunting based on all the traffic that we can see. And between us, we all do a whole bunch of threat hunting, all the partners that are working here. And the idea is that we have a centralized platform with which to bring in all the data sources, so all the logs, all the feeds, all the alerts from all of the partners who are working here stood before you, and have, as you would like to have in a perfect world, a central place where you can do all the investigation, all the detection, all the response. Now, there's a lot of detection and response work at this conference, and the reason is, when we talk about the network security platform, well, by and large, we let most things through. So we're very well known for our next generation firewall, which typically a firewall will be out there to block the bad things. But this is a place where bad things are expected, by which I mean we have people learning offensive security techniques. We have people working with malware, working with exploits, poking at vulnerabilities, all of that good stuff. That's the whole reason for this conference in many ways. So from a firewall perspective, there's one place that we do really heavy protection and inspection, and we decrypt the traffic, and that's the registration area, which is a bit of a hot topic today, obviously. But the registration area is where your personal information is, our personal information. There's a database, there's a web front end, there's a whole architecture to the registration area. We protect that heavily for very obvious reasons. We don't want any of that data to leak. We don't want anyone to exploit it. We don't want anyone to attack it or anything like that. But the rest of the traffic, if you're in a training class, if you're watching someone in the arsenal, or maybe there's a demo involved in one of the briefings, well, hey, that might be some novel new technique, or it might be someone demoing an exploit, we need to let that go through, otherwise the demo's not going to be very good. So from a firewall perspective, we allow it. We track it, we alert it, we get visibility to it, and then between us all, we threat hunt and we go, wow, that looks kind of funky. Is it funky real, or is it funky part of a demo? So from our perspective, that's why there's a famous line that one of the NOC leads, Grifter, uses, which is, we look for needles in needle stacks, not needles in haystacks. You know, there's so much bad stuff in theory that looks malicious. We have to look for the malicious things that are truly malicious and someone who may be doing something that we genuinely don't want to see versus people doing demos and trainings. So yeah, we integrate heavily with Arista in terms of patching everything together and connecting everything together. We heavily integrate with Cisco. We work hard to make sure that they get all the visibility they need from their tools, and the same with Corelight. So yeah, thank you very much. I'll hand it to you, Mark.
Thank you, Jimmy. Mark here with Corelight, of course, and we are the open NDR, that's Network Detection and Response provider for the Black Hat Network Security Conference. And as Jimmy said, and as Jonathan said, and as Jessica said, we all integrate in many ways here at the conference. So Corelight, what we bring is our sensors for network detection and response. We consume packets, which we get courtesy of Arista, forwarding us a copy of all of the traffic leaving the network, coming into the network, coming in through the registration, and anything in between different networks, as everything is segmented out here on the Black Hat network. And we record that, we turn it into logs for all of the teams to threat hunt through, and we also capture the packets in case we need to perform incident response and go even deeper. We're forwarding the logs to basically everyone who will take them. We send them, of course, to Palo Alto Networks, XIM. What were the next two words? It's a very long product name, so I have to make sure I get it right. Palo Alto Networks Cortex XIM Security Platform. Security Operations Platform. Yeah, sorry. I'll rehearse that for tomorrow. We also send them to Cisco XDR. Yes? Yeah. And a handful of other places. Of course, the Corelight Investigator platform as well. And we're logging the traffic, and we're also doing intrusion detection on that traffic, signature-based alerting, doing machine learning alerts on that as well, and providing threat hunting services. As every team brings threat hunters to look through the logs, we're also looking through the logs ourselves with our threat hunters, and collaborating with all the other threat hunters to say, this is what I think about the traffic. This is what I saw this over here. Saw somebody that looks like they're attacking this. My hunch is that it's part of a classroom activity, and that's a classroom infrastructure that stood up for the attendees to attack. And is that what you think as well? Is that what is everybody else, what are their other perspectives on it, so we can collaborate together and come to the best possible conclusion. So, Jessica.
Thanks. We really appreciate our buddies at Corelight. We're setting up some software there a couple days ago, and one of the guys came and tapped our people on the shoulder like, hey, we can see your stuff in plain text. We're like, what the F over? So we went and took a look at it, and one of our engineers had not checked the box. And that's something that you often see inside networks, right? Where people configure something, they're setting some up, they miss a checkbox or take one off or something like that. And that's what some of the things that we do inside the Network Operations Center is we look for those things. One time, helping out with each other. Sometimes we gave those engineers a little lesson there and sent them on their way, but also on the network, when we see people that have their stuff in plain text, then like their credentials, then we'll get a hold of them if we're able to and let them know how to secure their things. And be sure to come tomorrow to the briefing by Bart and Grifter. There are leaders at 3:20 where they'll talk about the findings report of what is seen by the team, the evolution of the Security Operations Center, and how we all work together. So I've been working with Black Hat now for 10 years, if you can believe that. Time just flies by. It's an honor to get to know these folks up here and their team members. Originally started with malware analysis, the NDR at the time, which wasn't our awesome buddies at Corelight, which we invested in. Highly recommend that product. So it was someone else, and they needed to do some malware analysis, so it was just me and my laptop and an API key, and we were doing some threat hunting, and then we were Black Hat Asia afterwards. And they said, hey, don't you have a DNS product? They were using something else. Like, yeah, we can bring that in. And then the pandemic happened. And before then, you remember you had to bring laptops when you would go and check in with your QR codes. They didn't have them. You had to go type in your email address. Like, we're going to move over to iOS devices. Don't you guys do iOS mobile device management? Like, yeah, we do that. So we started doing that for them. And then we actually built the network for a couple of times until we handed off to Jonathan. The previous partner had said they couldn't make it to Singapore 6 weeks before the conference. So this was during the supply crunch. You remember that 3 years ago when the supply chain was down. So we got boxes in here. We did it for 4 conferences, and then we're glad to hand it off to Arista because that was a lot going on in my mind, handling the network as well as some of the security stuff. And then they realized that we needed to do identity. So we've been working on identity for the last couple of conferences so that we have a single sign-on to secure all this infrastructure because it has all your personal information in there, and then to grow from there. We brought in some cameras to protect physically the network operations center when we're not there. Also sensors, like in London, goodness gracious, it is cold in December, but inside that server room, it gets hot. So they have to bring in air conditioning in London, if you can believe, in December because the servers are going so much. So we got those sensors to make sure that we don't blow up the hardware, the gear, because sometimes I think it's going to levitate. Come and check out the NOC report again at 3:20 tomorrow, Bart and Grifter, because you're going to get to see Jimmy's video of how that stuff all goes together in time lapse. So some other things that have happened over the time. 3 years ago, there was an issue where we were providing the network at the time, and the sales office was trying to sell some cool booths to the people at the next conference. They couldn't connect to their cool floor diagrams, right? So blame the network. Of course, it's Jonathan's fault because he's running the network now. So, right, we don't want to blame the network. We want to figure out what the real issue is, where there was the issue. So we deployed what's called 1,000 Eyes to figure out why there was that latency and why they couldn't load them. And it turns out that they were going from here to Marseille, France, to Paris, to Ireland, to AWS, taking over most a half a second, and that's why the latency. So Black Hat realized they want to have a little more visibility. Over the last 3 years, we've been deploying 1,000 Eyes more. I've got it here on my laptop right now. Jonathan has been really cool about getting installed on the switches. We've got it on iOS devices. You may see little Raspberry Pis with antennas that are also looking at the network. So we have that visibility and we can detect problems in advance. And then we have evolved, and what was Umbrella is now Secure Access, bringing that zero trust architecture and DNS together as one. And also, what we started off with was called Threat Grid, bringing in Splunk Attack Analyzer, and then using that to send things also to Threat Grid. So the NOC continues to evolve. We get better. We appreciate the feedback that comes from here. We visualize all that so we can better serve our partners and also Black Hat. We also put that all into Splunk and then our XDR product for visualization. The official SIM and SOAR is our buddies there at Palo Alto, because 3 years ago I was like, dudes, we need a frickin' real SOAR in here. It was here at this conference because the other one was sucking it. And I'm like, our buddies over there at Palo Alto have done some really cool stuff, automation, and they should do it. And we're glad for all the work they're doing. What that shows is it really is important for collaboration. When you go into your network operations center or your security operations center, you're not going to have just one vendor, one partner. And I hate saying the word vendor because I consider them partners all the time. So they need to interoperate. And that's my day job, is to build integrations with folks like CrowdStrike, with Palo Alto, and so on. And some of the innovation that we've done here, having the firewalls work together with Palo, we're working with them to put in production. We try things out here so our joint customers have that outside of Black Hat. That's really the fun here, is we innovate, we build things, we break things. The network is not responsible for what happened to the badges. That's a whole situation going on there. We've been helping them fix that. It's a thing with a printer issue, but we're helping them fix that. Which means you probably have questions like, what the heck's up with my badge and other stuff like that. So we do have time for questions. They got a microphone here. There's one in the back. What questions do you have? You can come and take a look as you think about it. You can stop by the NOC. It's on the other side of the welcome. On the left-hand side, if you're going this way, right-hand side the other. You can walk in there until 6 p.m. There's dashboards out there that show cool stuff from Palo Alto, Corelight, Arista, also the Cisco stuff. And you can take pictures of anything you want there. This is the time to ask questions because tomorrow with Bart and Grifter, they're probably going to have a question for like 1 or 2 because they only have 40 minutes and there's a lot to share. So any questions you got? Wow, you guys are really freaking informative because you answered all their questions. That's super awesome. Well, there's one right there, Jimmy. Jimmy was going to give us more color. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. It's more of a question for Cisco.
Oh, then they better have Palo Alto answer it.
Okay, well, Cisco used to have a SOAR platform. I forget what it was called.
We still do.
But since you brought up, you were looking for a real SOAR product, what happens with Cisco's?
Oh, we weren't providing the SOAR. There was somebody else. And at that time, we had what was called Secure X Orchestrator.
Yes,
that's
what it was.
Right? So it still exists, and it's gotten better. It's now XDR Automate, and we've used that to automate integrations that we have with our buddies over here through Splunk, which also has a SOAR product. So at the time, ours was, we were growing it and advancing it, and also we were doing Jonathan's job plus all those other things. He does a really good job. And we're like, hey, we need a new SOAR. Like, what are you going to suggest? Yours? Like, well, we got one, but no, actually, these guys have built some really cool stuff. And it was my honor to recommend that they provide the SOAR. And then the SIM folks left last year, and they were in a really good position to offer that. I think they'd offered it to Splunk years ago before we acquired them, and they wouldn't provide people. None of our companies pay for our salaries. You can't. And then we bring all the gear is donated to Black Hat. You can't buy your way into the NOC. They've had folks that have tried to write checks to say, I want to be a sponsor. And they're like, yeah, no, we have unlimited budget because we go and ask who we want. In this case, they were in a better, more mature position to provide the personnel. They'd already proven themselves as the other one was failing. And I was happy to recommend them. But ours is pretty darn good too. Jimmy, did you have something you want to say? I saw you had some color in your eyes before that question came up. We used to call him Happy Jimmy because if the firewall's happy, then it's a good day in the NOC. So go ahead, Happy Jimmy. I thought you were going to say something earlier before I had a question.
I was just going to echo your comment, really.
See, I told you.
If there's no questions, this is my standard line. If there's no questions, it means that between us, we've done an amazing job of perfectly describing everything about the NOC and the Black Hat infrastructure. So you're all agreeing to that. We're all witnesses. We're amazing presenters. The slides were fantastic, and we expect to see all of that great feedback on the feedback.
We don't have
the
feedback
forums
forms.
and everything. Yeah,
We don't have.
So thank you in advance for that.
Oh goodness. So you got some more questions? We got a little extra time. There's one right there.
Hi guys, thank you for the rundown. I come down from Australia. I'm a CISO for the government agency. I use all of your product. My team uses. Why do you feed the CASB and test stuff? One of the things you need to incorporate nowadays, modern, like a network NOC things, CASB stuff. But in Cisco, I think, and the AppSec control. Though you say the AppSec control is not a real AppSec control, it's only to the application level. But I'm talking about static control on the codes and everything. That thing is lacking probably in the NOC stuff, which is going to be next level. So how do you think that can be incorporated going forward with the holistic network point of view or NOC point of view?
With the application security,
Yep.
Cloud-based application security.
And the CASB. CASB is going to be the next level. So I don't see the CASB has been implemented.
Yep.
So how do you see, is it in a more, are you working on the development of this thing, or do you like to integrate, how you like to, because that's going to be one of the key features of this NOC going forward.
I appreciate the question. So we have access to the entire Cisco security cloud, and we have a number of what we call proof of values. Yep. With Black Hat, it's like, hey, we got this thing that like distributed denial of service is something we're working on right now, and show that. So there are constant innovation within the NOC, and these are the official provider sort of things. And there's other stuff that they're doing to secure that. Some of that is some homegrown stuff. I guess Jimmy does a lot of the stuff of protecting like we have a cloud-based product, but some of the infrastructure was put in the cloud because someone didn't bring a server or something, right? One time we had to deploy at the last moment. So Jimmy did some work on doing some cloud security recently for some critical infrastructure and the applications that have all your badges. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Thank you. Yeah, it's an interesting scenario because we operate here in a guest Wi-Fi scenario. Really, the vast majority of our users they're on different SSIDs. Every SSID has its own subnet, different VLAN, highly segmented. So we get full visibility. You know, any packet leaving a device will hit the firewall straight away. A bunch of it goes to the internet. The vast majority, in fact, there's very little east-west from the attendee point of view. Therefore, you know, CASB is an important part of your enterprise security set of controls and visibility. But in a guest Wi-Fi scenario, which is what we've got here, you know, we have no control over the endpoints. We can't install anything on them. We can't do anything to.
We did say, hey, would you want to download this executable from the NOC? And so many people took us up on it. No, actually, they did not. You know, we have endpoint control over all of the things that you put your data in, like the iOS devices, and you know they have Cortex XDR on some of the servers, right? As well.
Yeah. So the iPads, you know, we have the security there from Cisco. All the server hosts that run the registration infrastructure I was talking about earlier, like Jessica says, they've all got endpoint on, and we can decrypt the traffic inbound to those. Because we have collaboration with the team that run the registration service. We can get the certificates lined up so you don't get any of those browser errors and stuff like that. But apart from that, you know, TLS is there for a reason, to protect people's privacy. And so unless we have control to be able to decrypt it and see inside it, there's only so much we're going to see, right? So it has some, long story short, CASB has a limited use case for this kind of environment, sadly. But unless you all want to, you know, if we spin up a CA, we'll give you a cert, you can install it. That sounds great, right? Yeah, didn't think so.
Thank you for the question.
It's a great question. It's a good point.
We have about 4 more minutes before they kick us out. Any other questions? Otherwise, Jonathan does really good impressions.
Well, we could have him do that. I was going to point out that I think that question highlighted an important point, which is that just because you don't see an arrow on the slide for an integration doesn't mean we're actually not. It doesn't mean we're not working on it as well in the background. There's actually a significant amount of experimentation that we're doing in the Network Operations Center, which is how we arrive at this sort of thing as well. Is
Wow, that is scary.
We build that network in a few days at the beginning of every conference.
This is what it used to look like. This is what the diagram used to look like. And they're like, yeah, well, that's like too much stuff on there. We need to simplify this for you. So that's what is actually happening in the background.
And more.
And more, right?
Because we, even at this conference right now, we're putting the things that we are using in production, and we're also experimenting with other things. What else can we tweak? What else can we make work? What else can add value for the conference and for the attendees?
Here it goes. All right, we got time for one more question. Well, that wasn't even a question. One more comment from Mark. So awesome. Any other questions? All right. You got a question?
I do.
All right, come on to the mic.
Actually, if you do not have a badge, our printers are back up and running, so please head over to registration to get your badge.
That was really good timing. With that, peace out. Be safe out there.